Let's see if this works. All right, this is madness. Why didn't it work the other way around?
I don't even know.
Now you see when I was logging in though, it was like checking connection like 3 times, and then
Yes,
it came on, and I was like, okay, cool. Let's see if it works this time.
yes, that's crazy. Shout
All
out
right,
to
so
you,
welcome to
man.
Live with Gbenga Solitude featuring Cosquinino.
Yes, absolutely. Let's do it. But I want. Okay,
I'm
I guess
taking over the
after
show tonight.
you need, yeah, you'll be able to record this. I think I should be able to. You'll be able to somehow, somewhere. Anyway, it's important, so we have it documented.
All
But
right, all right.
yes, yes. So shout out. Thank you for doing this. A little technical difficulties, but it can't stop us.
We figured it out.
Yeah, it
So,
can't stop us.
your fans just need to sign in now.
Yeah, exactly. I see folks coming through already. Timmy, what's up? Femi, David, Fumi, I see everybody. Yeah, so yeah, we at the end is we tell him to save it. Okay, that's cool. So I guess at the
Cool.
end you have the option to save the conversation to your
I'll,
story.
I'll do just that. I'll do just that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what's good, man?
I'm chilling. I'm chilling. Good to see you. Hope you
Thank you.
guys. It's not as I think MD is not as mad as New York, right?
I don't think anywhere is as mad as New York.
I know.
And we say that like it's funny, but it's
Yeah,
it's kind of sad at the same time because
yeah.
there are a lot of us that consider New York as like second home.
Of
I mean,
course.
New
Of
York is embedded within me. You guys are
Yeah,
family. I'm there every year, literally every year,
of
and I
course.
always come and say the same thing to you and say, hey, I can come to New York and visit all day, but I'm not moving there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is reinforced it. Let's just say that. So.
Different season right now. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, MD is going through it, but our governor too is like he's very aggressive, So you know, for a Republican governor, he's like going against the status quo.
And
Yeah.
it takes a lot. It takes a lot to do that.
Yep, it does. It does. It does.
But yes, well, thank you for agreeing to do this. I thought it would be important because I've been seeing a lot of the conversations they've been having in Nigeria, and I started having this conversation for a lot of us that are here, and I thought it's so important because, like I said in the post that I put up, right? I don't think anybody in their right state of mind can really talk about the Nigerian entertainment industry as a whole without talking about the America, without talking about England. Because at the end of the day, we've been exported out of Nigeria, exporting to America, exporting to Nigeria. And
We globalized it.
exactly. And people like yourself were very instrumental from the very early stage, where a lot of people that are on right now that are doing stuff may not necessarily know about that history.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted us to have this session to talk about, let's talk about some of the early stage for you, in terms of, when you started doing your stuff out here, wherever you want to start from in America on the global stage.
We don't want to expose ages, but forever young. You know what I mean? I think I can start it off like this. There was a period of time whereby Africans have always been entertainers. Africans have always liked to be entertained. And here in the U.S., I was pretty young when I got into the whole entertainment business. I was in college, my very first year in college. I was a freshman, and a lot of I remember them in the University of Maryland, and a lot of them would be like, "Dude, didn't you just get here? Like, I literally saw you the first day we all came in together and did orientation. How you the one inviting us to a party already?" and talking about what events are going on campus because, I went straight into it. I met all the, fraternity sororities and all that stuff or whatever. I went into entertainment. What I later found out when I started meeting a lot of people, as you know, in this business, you get to meet thousands. I mean, over the years, how many people can we say? Like, my phone at one point had probably numbers for like 40,000 people, saved in different places. But I started meeting a lot of African students, and that's how it really started. And I started just asking myself, like, okay, Africans in the diaspora, with the love of entertainment that we have, the resources that we have, why don't we have something that is our own, like our niche?
Of course. Yep.
Something that we can relate to, And when you go to the clubs back then, of course, it was just hip hop. Hip hop was big, it was huge. Late '98 and go. Hip hop was it. That's when hip hop really started getting out there. Biggie, Tupac, and all that stuff, and hip hop took over. And then, of course, because of like the Shabarangs and all those people, and I know I'm going way back now, but it's a history.
Exactly.
They transported that, they exported that, to the US. So you go to the club, you listen to hip hop with a splash of reggae and dancehall. And that's all that there was.
Yeah.
Straight up. So we Africans will represent. A lot of the young DJs then, that's really all they could play. That's all they were allowed to play.
Yep.
Shout out to my boy DJ Preview. I see some DJs joining. They can attest to this. A lot of them were pretty young alongside me then. And they used to see me like go at it with club owners and say, hey, we have some of our music. Now, around this time, people like LD, Two-Face, the Plantation Boys, and we used to talk on like AOL chat and everything. And all that stuff. There was no Facebook and all that. MySpace, and all that. And we connect. I used to talk with AY, who's starting out in comedy and wanted to really globalize. And LD was just about, coming to Atlanta at that time. He was still in Nigeria.
Okay.
And I was like, you know what? Some of the music that you guys are doing, Plantation Boys, and and LD and these guys, I was like, this is dope music. We started getting it, and then Olu Maintain, who was my boy, back then, and they had just started out to compete and reminisce, all of that stuff. So we took all that music, and you can attest to this because you were part of that journey with Big Moose on the other side of the East Coast. And I think we're the very first people who really started pushing that mainstream. Because I went to club owners and say, I'm the one making you money. All these folks here are African. They have resources and they're spending that money. We want to be able to listen to music that belongs to us, that we can enjoy. And I'll go to the DJ and I'm like, I don't care what anyone says. I want you to play these Niger jams. That's what we call it then. There's no Afro beats moniker by that point. Yes. And that's how it started out. And then I remembered one year, maybe a couple of years after, like really pushing that down. And we had a Nigerian Independence, and we went all out. Me, my partners then, shout out to Aiko Yegon, Ayakara. Those are my boys. We all grind together, staying up 4 or 5 days a week while having jobs and going to college and promoting and passing on flyers in the snow because we just wanted to globalize. And it wasn't about the money. We wanted to globalize Nigerian music, African music as a whole. We wanted people to know that Africans have arrived. And we knew that even though we had other interests in arts or politics, in the economics of everything, we knew that we could easily get the ear of people and get into the realm of everything else through music and entertainment. That really was it. And a lot of people attest to it. People come to the parties, it wasn't about making money or stuff. At the end of the night, I always go to the ATM and pay the DJs because we had no money.
Yeah, that's true.
And we were the ones partying the hardest. But we wanted to globalize the music, and that's what we did. So we had a Nigerian Independence, and we put it on radio, urban radio. Nobody has ever heard that before. Anything African ever.
It's true.
On urban radio, for Nigerian Independence, people were stunned. Of course, we started building a brand from there. And of course, me and my boy Ayakara, we decided to do another rebrand of something that we thought will get people's attention in a very big way. We're already doing parties in different states. We'll go to Georgia, and all these other places and do parties there. Then we started Party Addicts. 2002, we debuted it in a big way in Miami, Nigerian reunion. Almost 2,000 people at a party. Never happened in the history of ever in any African entertainment acts at that point. And it took off from there. So I think, the journey started with a lot of folks who are unsung heroes. Because I remember coming to New York very early, after that, like, it's like, you know what? We've done DMV. People know us. We've gone to Atlanta. Let's go to New York and see what's really good. And we get there and people are like, hold on, did you guys talk to Big Moose and his crew, plus Canino and the rest of them? And I'm like, Big Moose, who's that? And you guys all came in a group one night to the party. Like, so you guys are the ones from DC just coming in here with no permission. And then we all became family, if you remember.
From way from the very, very early stage.
And then, of course, from that point, it jumped to us actually taking a risk and saying, okay, some of these artists, if we could start enjoying their music and the music is becoming somewhat mainstream, maybe we could have them come to the United States and do concerts just like, other artists, mainstream out there are doing. And if you remember back then, that's how we got like some of the, Blackface, Plantation Boys, what's the name of that song, Olu for me again? Yes, Star Plus. You remember that?
Yeah, of course.
And, I think Africans as a whole, it went past Nigeria at that time because Nigeria was always forefront. We were always pushing the envelope. But I think people started recognizing that entertainment was a very big way for Africans to make themselves.
I was going to ask you something like, obviously, like when you started at a very early stage, like obviously, like you said, you got to the school and almost instantly you were already inviting folks. What was it that was so important to you? Like, what, I have to do this. You know what I mean? Like, where was that influence from to say, I have to mobilize my people and, get things started?
I think it's just the sense of community was one. And, in this business, a lot of people later on got into it because they wanted to make money or they thought we were making a lot of money. And that was their motivation for getting into it. I think a lot of us, like veterans that started out, and a lot of the younger ones now, don't get me wrong, I'm not generalizing, but a lot of the veterans back then, knowing fully well that we did not have the ready technology like the Facebooks and Instagrams to get out there, whatever, and just seamlessly, get it done. We had to grind and over grind. So it was innate. You had to have like a flair for it. You had to have a huge interest in it because we had sleepless nights. I remember one event, you wrote up to me like, oh my God, I cashed my check and gave it to these people. And they're saying like, it didn't come through. What are we going to do? And then I'm like, we'll figure it out, cause in New York, nobody who does that.
Yes,
your livelihood. So it was an innate interest. I got on campus and stuff like, a lot of Africans, but people would typically kind of have like some disrespect when they talk to Africans, like, oh, you guys are just like the minorities of minorities.
Of course.
And I wasn't feeling that. I didn't have to like, I'm African American, but I'm also Nigerian first. I didn't feel like I had to like fit in and, choose a certain identity and be boxed in and not be proud to be able to say like, well, my origin is Nigerian and we're here, and recognize us as such. So part of building that community and getting them together is what we looked at as like with entertainment being the catalyst for that. Parties always brought people together.
Looking at it from there, right, did you like thought it was gonna be like where it's at right now? Did you see that coming?
Not at first.
We talked about it like we went from Nigeria jams and back then there was no Afrobeats. It was like
not at first. Because we were all happy-go-lucky. We were pretty young, like really young. A lot of folks started out with me, even me before I was 21. We were young and we were in the clubs and sneak in and all that stuff. It was just for fun. It was just like we wanted to be able to like the folks that we all have something in common. We want on the weekend beyond college and, being in the library that we could all still get together on a weekend and hang out. That was really the whole motivation for it. And so we were very happy-go-lucky, but we were hoping that it would go somewhere. I'll tell you what, when I knew that there was a level to this, that there was levels to it and that it was going to go somewhere is when I started looking at, digital marketing and data and what data could possibly do. Not to the extent of what it is now, but even back then we're thinking about data. So I used to stand out with notepads and take people's emails. And those emails weren't like, the Yahoo is seamless right now. One of those like, dark lettering or whatever, your school email, and you would get the information in text.
Yeah.
But I always knew that I was going to go somewhere. And when the music started getting more mainstream, and some of the artists started recognizing their own worth, people like the Two-Face and whatever, and dropping African Queen and all that stuff, I looked at it like, this is going to be huge. My only fear was that there were people, culture vultures, who were going to be ready to take it and run with it. And those of us who really were in the mix, who started it, who sweat and blood created this, we're not going to be in the forefront and celebrate it or enjoy from it. But I'm glad that there are people doing that. You have the Smades, you have, promoters in various, cities, concert promoters. We're in there as well. But you can also see that folks like Live Nation, the Drakes and all that stuff, the Rihanna, they all saw the worth of Afrobeats and now they've jumped into it. Yeah. So yeah, it took me a few years, but before we saw like there's a bigger picture to this and this is going to blow up. And even that surprised us. It was a nice surprise, but it was also scary. Like,
I definitely see it coming. Like,
it was like, damn, like this is blowing up. This is going to be crazy. This is going to be, a major business and industry by itself. And I'm glad it's gotten there. That's what it is right now.
So you talked about, I remember like very early on, I came to one of your events and then you already started collecting emails and, back then.
Yeah.
A lot of promoters, they were not doing it back then. And I also remember you were one of the first that, I forgot the name of this company. You started using it to send out email blasts and stuff like that.
Yes. Yes. The one was doing it, in fact, in the DMV, and it was only me and one other person, Eric Taylor, on the more urban side that was doing it. And he was aggressive with his, and I was just following his path and trying to customize it to taste to what I know my folks would like. But people were seeing that and I was like, what are you doing, man? Why are you standing out here like, in the cold blocking emails? And I just kept telling them like, this is where it's got to go. I started looking at what, some of the social media platforms that were coming out, and all the high fives and all that stuff. And I'm like, there's going to be others that are going to keep improving. How can we get to people without having to stand outside for hours and then putting flyers on cars and walking around in the cold 4 or 5 days of the week? This would be an easier way. And it helped me birth my marketing company, Addicted Marketing. When I approached small businesses and started doing experiential marketing, a lot of them were surprised, like, oh, so how are you going to do it through a party? I'm like, no, party is different. That's a different part of my business. This is marketing, grassroots marketing. I can reach 50,000 people with a click.
Well, you already had all the emails,
all of that organically grown. So, yeah.
All right, cool. So, like, looking now, do you think at that earlier stage, there should have been some sort of an organization, like, because if you think about it, like you doing it in the DMV area, it kind of trickled down to even like what we were doing in New York. Then you had other people from other states, Miami jumped in, and Atlanta. It kind of started from that area, right? Looking at like Live Nation setup now, do you think that's something that would have been possible if everyone realized?
In retrospect, I think we dropped the ball. And I'm not ashamed to say that. You can't turn back the hands of time. You can just fix some things. We dropped the ball back then because, one, we didn't have the full knowledge of how powerful data will become and technology would become. And that's what's driving everything. The likes of Live Nation and Co will never get involved with any of this if it wasn't for the fact that we saw the data and the power of that data and what it could do. But we didn't figure that out early enough, and we weren't organized early enough. One of the first, and I want to say early, but not so early, but when Nigerian DJs came together, D-Money, Preview, 3K, all of those guys, and they from the Nigerian DJs, I was so impressed. And you can ask any of them, I fully support it. 100% or 1,000% because I wanted it to work, because it was the first time I saw in the African music business and the diaspora that there was a formidable organization And if you actually, because I always tell DJs, I'm like, the power is in your hands. And even as a promoter, I'm going to tell you at some point, you might weed me out because you have the power. That music is what brings people together. And that organization was great. Not sure what happened. I think folks got older and, priorities changed. But Nigerian DJs was a very formidable organization. I think if we had pooled resources earlier,
Yes.
folks who actually had the resources that were older than us and accomplished in the African community, if they had supported it, because it wasn't for lack of trying as well. There are times we come together, try to do stuff and approach people, and they're just like, what is it? What's in it for me? What is it going to do for me? I don't know. I don't want to risk it. There are guys who would rather go buy bottles and, and spend thousands of dollars than give it to us to invest. So if we had gotten together back then, known the power that we have, and and the economic power that Africans had, realize that and sharpen that and use it, we would have been competing with the likes of Live Nation, or even not even allow them in except we want them in. Live Nation, this is a hostile takeover right now with Live Nation because we have the venues. We can tell you where you're going to use our venue and this and that and offer you this and that, and that attracts some of the artists. So a lot of people who got those artists to where they are have been weeded out in the process because they could go straight to a Live Nation and start making deals. And if we had that, we meaning promoters, DJs, the like, and all that stuff, who've usually kind of been in the background, if we had, we would have been the ones calling the shots. And artists would have also gained from it because you wouldn't have had to lift a finger and do all this work. It's ready made there for you. So yeah, there was some ball drop, but I think people are going to, still getting to realize that, it can still be done. I don't think there should be anyone should give up on it who's still in this business. It can be done,
In terms of with party addicts and so much so that you did, what would you say was some of the proudest moment? Because you're a legend, you put so many people on, in the DMV, even outside of that. I know folks in New York, I'm like, yo, man, I'm like, dude, you're going to party away. I mean, you're going to DC,
Well, I can say this. When it comes to proudest moments, I think, as a collective, because party addicts became a collective.
Yeah.
Of folks like you come, I want to be down automatically. You're down with it too.
Yeah, with us too.
Oh, shut up, my brother. So, as a collective, I think one of the early proud moments is that folks would roll up to us and be like, hey, either to me or I or BJ or I can be like, I'm an addict too. And we'll go somewhere. We're walking in on a regular day, off day. We don't have an event, which was rare, but we don't have an event. We just roll up somewhere like, hey, you know what? Let's just go have some fun. It's 3 or 4 of us. Get out of a car. Then we see a multitude of people, everyone we know in the city, Nigerians especially, other Africans. And then the next thing, by the time we walk to the door, it's like 30 or 40 deep.
Oh, dear.
Like, you can act with us, and everybody like, oh, you guys were all party addicts. So that was a proud moment that it became collective. It became almost like a cult following at some point because we had a monopoly, especially in this immediate area. It was only party addicts doing something. But I think one of the major proud moments as a business was, of course, in Miami. We went to Miami, a place we've never had events before, on the beach promoting. 1,500 plus people showed up to an event. So much so that the club gave us extra and told us we should come back the next day. And we live in Miami, and can we partner with them and all that stuff. So we did that, and we went to different states and able to do events in states that we don't live in. There was a time we were in the DMV, we were having a party in Chicago with Niger Riders, and one of our other guys was in New York doing a small event at the same time. And if we had all the Instagrams and stuff, we were talking about it then like, oh man, how about if the video, all 3, and everybody's looking at each other and what's happening at that party, but we didn't have the technology for it. That's a proud moment as a business, and as like a crew, the collective that I spoke about. Then as personal, me personally,
yes.
When people was like, oh, veteran in the game, I started thinking about it like you can't be a veteran without influencing other people and helping other people. There are DJs that I helped put on. I saw them as family. You know,
So,
shout out to DJ Don X. He came to me out of the blue. It's like, you know, I'm in college. I want to DJ and stuff. I'm like, I've not tested your work, but come to one of the parties and DJ. That's how it always happens. DJ Smooth was the youngest DJ ever to step on. He was 17. DJ Smooth right now in Abuja. You know, he was 17 when he stepped to me, and people like, number one, because at that point he looked like he was 14, more like it. So he comes to the club with his bag, and they're like, "We're not letting this kid in." And I'm like, "He's with me. He's not gonna drink. He's just here to just do some." Then he jumped on and started playing, and people were like, "Wait, who's that little kid playing?" I'm like, well, he's not so little. He's little in stature, but you know, but he was still young. He was like 17 years old.
yes.
You know, my girl, DJ Supermodel. She's worldwide. It was the first time anybody heard a female DJ. Period.
Back then, of course.
Of African base, prominent, and she came up,
Yes.
and I'm like, yeah, female, you put in work and all that stuff. Yeah, I'll let everybody see. You got in the club, and I'm like, no jitters or whatever. 500 people are looking at you. No pressure. Go ahead, knock yourself out. That's how I did. I just threw them in there, you know. So
You know, one thing, right? Shout out
that.
to Duke, also Duke is with us. Shout out to Fumi. At that earlier stage, right? A lot of those parties initially it was just like Nigerians and stuff. Then quickly you started seeing like, you know, whites over there, Caribbeans and everything. And I remember even at the earlier stage in DC, your event were mixed. For you, how do you go about your cross promotions to get a mixed and diverse audience? Because when we're talking about where we are right now, those are part of the places where it started from. The friends attending, you know, these parties. How did you go about it back then, before social media, obviously?
You know, we do, one thing I'm proud of, and I can say the same for you guys. You know, we never underrated quality. You know, one thing I realized about the system here in America is that people would follow what the in thing is. They'll follow what the quality is. It's just like with food. Everything is a hospitality business. It's all in a big circle. Media entertainment, you know, from the hotel to the restaurant business, entertainment, it's attached. There's one denominator, that quality. So when you see Americans wanting to go eat out and eat some Turkish food, African food, Chinese food, it's because people want that diversity, quality in diversity. So that was the one thing that we never shanked on. If you remember, we never even used the term like, "Oh, come to this party." We always said like, "Oh, it's an event."
Yeah.
Like if you come, you know, your life will never be the same. And people will be like, "Who are these guys? Like, what do you mean? I come to the party, my life will never be the same." I'm like, come on now. And when some of them, their spouses there, and you know, they just saw like it wasn't just your regular old party. So that affected the people because word of mouth is big, and I always knew that. You know, so when a white guy comes in, like, "Oh my God, you guys do Africans party," he's coming with next week, and then Spanish, and then I had a huge base for mine from college days with a lot of Indian kids. You know, so we had a big party one time, almost 1,000 people. It was about 600 Indians on the Bhangra Festival. And I purposely that day, and I thought that no can fit people, we had 600 Indians coming for Bhangra Festival, and we went and promoted a big African party for people to come. So like 300 plus Africans show up and intimidated seeing about 600 Indian kids because they're celebrating a festival. Guess what? It is the craziest drunken party that Indians and Africans have ever had together, and they at that point. You know what I mean? And they realize that we love your music. No, we love your music. Hey, you know, I talk to that Indian girl, like, you know what? I like those African guys. And that's how we got to, like, you know, that melting pot. That's how we created it. So,
I mean, thank you. You know, let's talk about in terms of like now and specifically with artists and stuff, right? Looking at it from when that started back then with Two-Face, Style Plus, Olumentane, those guys were coming in, right? What are some of the things that you feel that even now it can be implemented that will put us in better positions in terms of us being able to control this thing and make more money from it at the same time pushing the culture?
well, you know, I think there was a disconnect at some point with, you know, artists. There was a point where the artists relied. Everybody had a role. You know, the DJ played their role.
Yeah.
And even though sometimes the DJs weren't given enough props, but they play their role. Who people in the background who work on these concerts and all that stuff. There's some of these girls who like really artistic, they put everything together, but nobody talks about them. And then you have the promoters. Then you have the artists who has to just come and do their art. These who I want to say, Carl's going to make me shake table. Uh, Back then, there was a lot more discipline, I think. Two-Face and Co, and I can attest to this, and Two-Face knows, the band knows, that he talks to me, and he met myself and Moose all the time. Back then, he'll be like, oh, what should I do different? How should I come out? I do this more with Timaya. He was like, yo, how long should I perform? Should I do this? How's this crowd going to react? They were invested and interested in how the show was going to go because they realized that the diaspora is a big part of their future in the business, coming to globalizing. So they were very disciplined. As time went by, I think a lot of the newer artists weren't as disciplined. So when you show up like late to a show or don't show up at all, or you're high and drunk when you show up, and you're singing over CD, but you're out of breath out of 10 minutes when Femi Kuti at 50 is performing for 2 hours straight, and the crowd is like, okay, we're done. Like, you're not done yet, and he's still on. So there's a slew of things that we can talk to next tomorrow about that, but let bygones be bygones. Artists out there beef with promoters and this and that, and all that stuff has happened. There still needs to be a level of collaboration that needs to happen. If not, and again, I stress that there are a lot of culture vultures out there. People that will take this over, they will monetize it, slowly watering down what Afrobeats genre is as a music, what the business is, as long as you can just bring in dollars and cents. They don't care. They'll water it down. They'll make useless it as long as it can pay. And I have nothing against Live Nation and all that stuff, but again, they're going by data. They don't really care. They're not invested in like, oh, is it culturally great? Does it put you in a good light? They don't give a shit. Like, does it make money? We're the ones talking about that. If artists don't start collaborating with other folks that are involved in the business and vice versa, we're going to get to the point where, people are going to be in a silo. Artists are going to be trained, well, we can do this and doing their own thing, and reaching out different places when you could seamlessly have collaborated with folks already in unit and formed a relationship, forge a relationship with. So that still needs to happen. People need to let go of their egos. Again, look, I've never met Smade, but I know of them, of each other, and I give him props all the time because he gets flack, but he's doing what he's doing on a global stage. It's different. It's big, and you got to applaud that. And there are other people doing it in smaller areas and all that stuff or whatever. But artists need to work together. Need to learn to legally protect themselves, protect their music as well.
Do you think is it too late? Is it too late to have an organization and have this thing you're talking about?
Oh, it's not too late because Afrobeats is, let me just not even say Afrobeats anymore because it's African music. Because I think even now with African music, when you talk about genres like Sukus and Makossa and the rest of them, people tend to forget that that's really where the popularity first came from. The Kofi Olomide and all that stuff before the Wizkids. So African music as a whole is really just touching the tip of the greatness and where it could go. Yeah, it seems huge right now, but it hasn't. It's not at the apex yet. It's not at the apex yet. So there's still an opportunity. And younger artists are the ones that a lot of times I'm concerned about. Not everybody's going to be a Wizkid and a Davido.
Yes. Yeah.
But you can be an Adekunle Gold. Now, some people are going to misconstrue that and say, are you saying Adekunle Gold is lower than? No. What I'm saying is that how he started out, his genre of music, how he started out, and how he pushed himself from A to point B to C, it was a different journey than a Davido or Wizkid. And not to say that none of them, every one of them didn't have their own struggle. They did, but the journey was different. So now you have so many younger artists, and Nigeria. Just use Nigeria as that playing field. Yeah. When there's no jobs and you have some more small talents, go and sing.
So let me
A
say
lot
this,
of
right?
young artists, and I'm like, I keep wondering, like, how are they going to get to that forefront? You know, you have the P-Man and all that stuff in Nigeria, but are they really pushing younger artists? Is there any outlet for them? And then if they're not going to blow up locally, how much more globally? And then you come here to the diaspora, they're, you know, young artists, some not so young anymore, who've been at it for a while, but they're great artists, great talent. But because of the fact that you're not hearing them on the streets of Lagos,
Yeah.
it's not transparent. So when they go, you know, to, you know, an event or something, and they open for the video, people are like, oh, that's my guy now. That's a PG County Michael Jackson.
Yes.
You know, so you know, because they see him every day, but he's multi-talented, but because of the fact that he's here, he's not respected. So you see, there's a lot of things that still needs to be molded. There's still a lot of work to be done, and it's just touching the surface. So there's room for an organization that can start tying all those different moving parts
Together.
together.
Do you think the numbers? Do you think the numbers eventually will work for the artists that are based over here? Because a lot when this conversation come up, one thing I keep hearing people say is that, well, if you guys, you know, why don't you guys invest in artists that are here so that you can kind of control the markets over here instead of investing so much? Because what we're saying is that a lot of the promoters, based on how much the artists are charging, based on the cost of production, marketing, and promotion to be really effective, they're not making much. You know what I'm saying?
I think that's an understatement. I think we both know
yes
a few so-called tours where everybody nearly went bankrupt.
Absolutely.
You know, the ones that went, I don't want to say they're not smart, but like, you know, when you're trying so hard, like, you know, where you got to jump in with those big boys and overspend and do all that stuff. Again, it comes down to that monetization. It comes back to the money. You know, and when you just jump in head first with no plan. Look, I've talked to so many promoters over the years, event planners. They call me either for advice or help or this and that or whatever. And I'm like, oh, so how about your marketing? And it's like silence. Like, so you spend 20,000 on the artist, 10,000 on the venue, 5,000 here, this and that, this car, this one, you know, the weed and the chicks, you're gonna get them, but you don't have 2,000 left for marketing.
For marketing, yeah.
Come on now. You shifted the
industry. The artists will bring everybody.
Well, that's not the case, because you sell yourself short when you don't realize, like, you know, the kind of power that you have. I see Nonya asking, you know, some questions, right? Shout out Nonya, that's my hostess. You know, she's smart. That's a smart woman. She's I think at some point she realized the kind of power that she has. So the marketing and kind of globalization. And I call it globalization because, yeah, it could be just America or two cities, but you're being globalized. That she's helped do for some of these artists. Yeah. You can put money on that, you know, and I see it, you know. So if you underestimate yourself and the power that you have with that brain power, that's what's going to always happen, because you're going to want to just throw money at stuff. And you can throw money at shit. And even though it sticks, it's still going to stink.
Yeah. What we're talking about? How long will they stay relevant? The artist or the promoters? Who are you talking about? Not yet.
Promoters will always come and go, but artists, I think it was probably artists. How long would they stay relevant depends on a lot of things. Back in the day, probably depended solely on your talent. Or either art, you know, people appreciate your art or whatever. Yes. But now there's a lot of moving parts. There are a lot of things you have to do beyond being able to sing. Being able to sing comes a dime a dozen. Shit, I sing in the shower and I feel great. But
with some auto-tune,
you have to have a team. You have to really, really work hard. You have to have like people you trust that could take on. Your cousin necessarily does not have to be your manager. You don't have managerial skills just because they're family. You know, find your niche, find your you know, where you fit in first and foremost. Not everyone is going to rap. Olamide, I can tell stories about Olamide, and I think we both know how Olamide started out. Who would have thought that he would be here? When we talk about relevance, a lot of people don't know the history of like someone like Olamide, where he came from and why he's still around. That's the definition of relevance. The definition of relevance. You know, and a few others out there. But then there's some You know, that while they might not be a one-hit wonder, they've been able to, like, you know, garner a lot of recognition. Question is, 5 years to this time, will they be there? It's left to be seen, and I'm not going to mention any names because I'm not shooting anyone, but it's left to be seen. So relevance comes with us having a structure. If you can protect yourself, protect your music, find a way to market your music better, you know, and stay true to yourself and that art. No matter what anybody's telling you. Again, I use that only because I'm biased and I love this music. But
Yes.
who would have thought that he would achieve the success he's achieving now with the type of music that he puts out?
Yeah, let me ask you this, right? There's a hot artist, right, from Nigeria, and there's a super hot, talented artist based in the US. Who would you invest in?
I think that's a loaded question. When you say who do you invest in, so I'll give you the short-term and the long-term answer.
Yeah.
If you're looking at a bigger picture, like some people were back in the day that led to the success now, if you're looking at a bigger picture of like who would be loyal to me, what's the next big thing that I can push?
Yeah.
That I will be in from the very get-go. You know how a pyramid scheme works, right? Like if you're there from the beginning, you're the one that will be chopping when everyone is coming. So exactly. So you can look at that American artist and say, I'm going to invest in this because it's going to be the next big thing. Because perhaps at some point, people are going to be looking at it like, okay, Afrobeats genre, there's this artist that's right here, easily accessible. I'm going to go with that. Why am I going to look for them in different countries when I have it right here? That might be the next big thing, and you want to, you know, invest in that. But when we're talking about short term, I want to do a concert, and I want to bring people to a big old parade. Who am I going to get that's going to draw the 5,000 people? More than likely, I'll have my short list of the video, you know, it's Latin, you know, or Naraman, of course. So it will make better sense to you. Plus, if you go meet like the 5 people who's going to put money in, they're like, I'm sorry, who's Michael? Who's Michael Obi? You know, throwing that out there from New York. You know, why are we not spending it on Naira Marley that can bring all the people and we flip it and we make money and we go our way?
Absolutely.
So again, that might not fully answer the question, but that gives you the thought process on that long term versus short term on who you can invest in. Plus, a Nigerian artist that is huge right now that commands major money, and I think sometimes, a lot of times, it's been overpaid. Again, I don't want to shake any tapes, and I don't want no artist to hate me, but overpaid. But if they're huge already, if they're big already and already blown up, what are you investing in? You're not investing. You're not investing. If they're not signing to your label or something or long term where you're managing them or something, you're not investing. Investing would be like you take someone, you believe in, you know, a vision, and you have a vision for them as well and for yourself as to where you want to go, and you're both walking that journey together. That's an investment.
Yeah. At the very initial stage, right? So anyway, so one of the things obviously is like at the earlier stage in America, right? I think we were in better position to control the price, how much artists that are coming overseas are being paid from Nigeria and other parts of Africa are being paid. Now it seems that the artists are controlling the price, and I've always said that part of the reason was because of certain promoters that just want to do the show by force and say, I must do the show. You know, Party Addict has a contract with Naira Marley for $20,000, cost Canino under the rock. I'm like, man, screw Party Addict. I want to do this show, right? I call Naira Marley and say, you have a contract for 20K. I'll give you 25K, or I'll even give you 10. So for the artist over there, he becomes the highest bidder.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. How do we, is it still possible for us to control the price, or is it too late?
I mean, everything has its moments, man. You know, so again, you've been wanting me to shot shit through by force, by fire. So when you have people who are serious about what they're doing as a business, and you're looking at it as a business, you sit down with your crew and you look like, what's a business savvy investment for short-term investment for us to make?
Yes.
what makes sense. When you lay everything out like a project as you're supposed to,
Mm-hmm.
you will come to terms to what you know you can afford, what makes sense. So that what you just said right there. If I sit down with a Claude and the rest of my crew or something, my DJs, I have them, my production crew or whatever, and we look at it like how much is the venue cost? What do we want to
Yeah.
accomplish? How many people do we think will show up based on data from the past and what's happening right now in the market value, which a lot of people don't. They don't know jack shit. The people putting events together, they never wrote anything on paper. They just went to meet their 419 friend, got money, and threw it at it.
Price on the
And like
list.
I said earlier, and some people, their feelings might be hurt by this, but it's true. Because if you throw money at shit, it's still going to stink. So when you have your 409 friend that has 30,000 to waste, he's, you might as well spend it on bottles. What's the difference? So those are the ones who wreck that market. Because the ones who are smart, who are savvy, they know like 15,000 is what we can afford to give this artist. That is worth fair market value.
Yeah.
That would enable us to have a successful event and maybe generate profit so that we can reinvest it in something else. But there are a lot of folks who came in to play, like you said, they're just like, I just want to do it. I want to be popular now. So if everybody knows that I'm doing that, I'm Ali. Of course, so they jump into the fray, and then they throw 25,000 at it, and all of a sudden, then they lament later, like they took a loss. No, you didn't take a loss at all. It was what you put down. How do you know you take a loss? You never had a plan.
Of course.
To begin with. So that's where it comes in. And that's why I say there's still the opportunity for that to be rectified. I know you said that the artists control the fees, but they really don't. They don't. It's the folks who came in, some of these people who came in who don't understand the business and started putting up inflated prices and stuff like that. Right. They controlled it. Now, after taking the numerous losses, between the numerous losses that some of them have taken, and they've now taken a step back, and then you have the ones that the 409 money finished and they can't go at it again. It's true.
Of course now.
So, and all of that, and people just can't afford it anymore. Guess what? Artists still got a tour. They still got it. All that money the artists are getting to. Don't you see how many baby mamas and cars they're going to spend it? They gotta recover. They gotta come back. So when they're coming back, and then the serious people are back in and they're controlling the narrative, and they come to you, cause, and you're saying no. Yeah. This is what we can do successfully. 3 of you on the stage, back to back, giving people what they want, and this can be long term, and we do it every year. And you come with a plan, and I'm not going to pay you more than 15,000 because that's what is fair market value. They say no. Okay, no. I'll go to the next person on my list. Check. At some point, when they see like, oh yeah, 1 year passed, maybe you did it twice a year. These artists came, they benefited from it. You paid them what was fair market value. You were willing to accept it and build their plan. They will tuck their tails and come to you and be like, cause someone cannot play with you. Let's collect that 15 like that. And then you can say, no, it's now 10 because people are begging me now for this event. And we found out after a couple of events that 10 is really what is market value, not 15 anymore. Do you want it or not?
Yeah, that's right. And
that's what it's going to get to at some point, either folks like it or not.
Shout out to Taya. She's saying that proper booking agencies can do it. Claudine's saying, now artists don't control it. After they stop getting those bookings, they will take what you give them. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And who commented about the booking agency?
The booking agency. That's Taya. Taya is an artist.
Yeah, exactly right. And as far one of the things missing in the whole industry, there aren't a lot of formidable booking agencies. At least not one that you can trust.
Yes.
We've had numerous cases. Oh, who you pay? I paid this manager. Oh, he didn't deliver the money. Oh, who are you supposed to talk to? This manager A, then manager B wants to jump in. Then manager C will be like, no, I'm the international manager. I'm the one who handles this. A lot of the artists, just like we're talking about the same issue with promoters or event planners, this and that or whatever, they have the same problem where they don't have a great team. They don't have a great team. Look, I hate to say it, I love Wizkid because, you know, in his very early stages with them, we were the ones pushing him. There was a time when he was really blowing up at that very first stage, and he was larger than life, but his team sucked right after he left EME. Shout out, man. The team sucked. And I think maybe he realized that that was right when he went into Disturbing London or whatever it's called and stuff, and then moved to another one. But the team was just not doing what was supposed to be done. And a lot of artists are falling for that as well. So if big artists could have that, and by sheer luck and prayers and their talent, they're huge. Because back in the day, that happened. You know, your brand tanks. But these guys have been lucky. Like even without a really good team supporting them, they've still been able to, you know, get out there and be successful. How much more a young artist, you know, who doesn't really have you know, that outlet. He doesn't have that support system. There's a guy, my younger brother, loves this skill. He keep telling me to listen to the music. Multi-talented, speaks all the languages in Nigeria. No lie, like 3 or 4 languages. Very talented. And I'm like, so what's stopping you? You know, go to these, you know, producers in labels or whatever. Go talk to them. Tell yourself, it's like, oh, my label is not. Oh, so you with a label? So yeah. So like, big bro, can I send you the contract? So he sent me the contract. This boy signed a life deal. How do you sign a lifetime deal with someone? Life. And they've not put you in the studio to do an EP. You signed a life deal. Why? How? It's like, oh, they make all these promises or whatever. I'm like, still, you signed your destiny away.
That's contract out of poverty.
Yeah. So, you know, there's a lot of that going around with younger artists. People don't believe in them, or they sign the raw deal.
Let me say
this. Have to go through that. You know,
Ope has a good comment here. But in recent times, these concerts have gone beyond promoters. Public entities in NYC are throwing events without involvement or representation of Africans, right? That's because we cover that. Summer Stage, they do this event. You know, you see Burna Boy, everybody can go there for free even, but they pay them, but they're not paying them the same amount of money they're asking from promoters.
Yeah, and you know why, right?
They're not.
It's the point you've been making all along. Can there be an organization, a formidable organization that controls this and, you know, has all the resources to do this and do that? But there is none. So artists are looking at it like, if I can go on a Hot 97, you know, Summer Jam and let my music be heard by 30,000 people, none of them readily don't know my music, I'm willing to take that pay cut.
Yeah.
That's one. There's some as well that's kind of like, not quite self-hating, but there's an inferiority complex with some of our African artists as well. There's an inferiority complex that a white guy comes, or, you know, some American promoter like, I'm good at a club, 5,000. Okay, yeah. Man, so notice me. But an African promoter and DJ that approaches you the same way, willing to go all out for you. You know, it's 10,000 or nothing, and you collect the money and still treat them like trash. Like, come to the city and head off somewhere else to go and chill and then show up at 2 a.m. while people will pay $30 to see you or wait.
No respect.
Doesn't mean no way you want. Shit like that. I mean,
no respect.
It's an inferiority complex. You know, when you feel like, you know, these are my people, I can treat them like trash. But when it comes to like, oh, you both people, yeah, you know what, you start acting this is like, you know, it's the next best thing since like bread.
So let's talk about it. So we've seen what Smade is going through now anyway with Live Nation, with the Afro Nation, right? So Afro Nation is owned by Live Nation, right? And Smade is a front promoter for Afro Nation Ghana and also the UK. They was also doing the US. A lot is going wrong with it, right? And then we've seen, you know, Polo also with One Africa, a platform that I've been working with from the inception also, right? Why is it that we haven't been able to, you know, put an event together, that mega stage? I think the closest thing that I could think of is what you talked about with the reunion, where we have everybody before these sub promoters and everything in place, right? So why is it that in recent time we're not seeing things like that from US-based coalition?
Okay, so first off, you work with Paulo. I think I give Paulo a lot of props, and you know that. I think like him doing that, taking a risk. They're not how many people out there that would take the risk that Paulo took. They're not a lot.
Okay, I want us to dig into it. We must talk
Yeah,
about
they're
it.
not a lot. No, they're not a lot of people. Now, mind you, it might not be a coalition, but I think Paulo was still smart enough to surround himself with smart people.
Absolutely.
You know?
One thing you don't know about Paulo is that Paulo
Yeah.
made it clear. Paulo said, I'm willing to do this, win or lose, for the next couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know too many promoters between here and New York and Cali that would say, I'll put up 250K or 500K, and it doesn't matter whether I win or lose. I can lose everything. I will still do it.
Now, money aside, let me tell you the perspective of how I see Paulo has made, only because those are the two you mentioned.
Yes.
And then, now, those two are very different from each other, because Paulo is someone who created his brand, owns his brand. He had a vision for what he wanted to do. And I think part of why he didn't have a coalition, rather hired people around him, smart people, to execute his plan, is probably because he had a vision and just didn't want it watered down by bickering, ego, and a whole bunch of hating. And so he decided, let me do it, take that risk. If it's successful, perhaps, and I can't read his mind, but he might be looking at like maybe perhaps he can beat into a bigger coalition. That's Paulo's side, perspective that I see from my side at least. And Smeg is different because, of course, he saw a giant and saw a way to get into the mix. You know that if you can beat them, join them, you know, or get into the mix of the group that you want to be part of, you know, and start from the beginning. And so he got in the Live Nation or whatever, and in turn building his brand. When they're talking about that, many people are saying like, "Oh, it's Live Nation owned." They're looking at it like it's building this Smeg. You know what I mean?
That money, of course, right? That money back then, we get it from Yahoo Boys. You know, a lot of people they will collect the money from these boys, do show that kind of stuff, because it's really them that maybe potentially they can lose money and not worry too much about it. But now
some money.
Some money, exactly. You know,
a lot of them, their 409 money is really money. You know, seriously, that they think is like big. When we talk about a coalition doing something where you're putting 50K down and risking it, and then soliciting for corporate sponsorship and all that stuff, that's money that calls on that money and send them on errand. That's not really 409 money. So that coalition could
legal
work.
Money, documented money, traced money, everything is accountable for.
And part of why we don't have that coalition right now, again, this is my opinion, and my perspective, is that you get a group, and I hate to generalize. I don't want to generalize. I've experienced it more than once. You get a group of people in a room, smart people, smart men.
Yes.
But you can't even get them to agree on basic things like, do we have the vision, the same vision? Okay, we agree that this vision is what we all have, what we want, right? How do we execute this vision, and who plays what role? Not everybody has to be the financial guru of the team or the accountant. Not everybody has to be the one to go talk to corporate sponsors. Because if you get there and you're doing a Ghana and you don't know how to talk, corporate sponsors are not going to listen to you. You got to get somebody who has the gift of God to go and talk to a sponsor. And then there are the folks who like to be behind the scenes and produce and put things together. But then people come into a room and don't even want to recognize their own strengths. They're only looking at what kind of accolades they can get from the vision that they have on the table. They're not really in tune with the same vision. They only came there looking at, you know, what's going to happen at the end of it. That's why you talk to so many guys who want to do concerts and will call, help me, and this and that. And when you ask them, like, oh, so what is the plan? They'll be like, okay, I paid the video 30 grand. If then 1,000 people show up and they pay $40 each, and that'll be 40K, so I can make 10K. And then you have to like take them back to the planet, to Earth, and say, what makes you think 1,000 people are going to show up? Where did you get them from? What makes you think they want to give you $40?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the same thing you say you're going to make because you did the have you included everything else in that? All the other expenses. So from people coming to a room, they don't have
Different
that same
mindset.
focus, that
They
same
say
mindset,
that
and
some
you
people
find
are
it
like,
hard.
I think we went over time. That's why.
Time flies when you're having fun, right?
Yeah, no,
So,
yeah. I think after 45 minutes, it time
minutes to take
flies.
it. Okay.
Yeah, it time
So
flies. Yeah,
to take up from where we left off,
yeah.
when you see that and you get into a room, you have an open mind. You
Mm-hmm.
want to collaborate with people, kumbaya, everything. But you sit at a table, and 30 minutes later, when the discussion, you're looking at it like these people don't even share my vision. You're,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you all, at some point you just like, okay, you know what, this is not for me.
Yeah,
So I think the number one issue of that coalition is people putting their egos aside
yeah.
and realizing that if we come together, we need to have a vision first and foremost, put it on paper and start working towards that. That's one. Two, we need to find a way to get those resources. Now, let me say one thing. People trying to sometimes they play down like, oh, African event and this and that. There are no sponsors. Why is that or whatever?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you something about that. And we've talked about this cost. It's
Mm-hmm.
not because of the fact that the African event is not good enough or Africans are not good enough or the events don't have the data, the people, the numbers, and all that stuff. It's because sometimes it's not the right approach to those particular sponsors, those corporate sponsors. And two, those corporate sponsors feel like, we don't really need you because we can get what we want either way, then they won't support. Now, back in the day, we all knew there were only a handful of people that we approached because they were the ones who would sponsor African events. MoneyGram, Western Union, Guinness, a couple of them.
Yeah.
Why didn't Western Union and MoneyGram support us as they should have? They'll give us $1,000, $500. You remember that shit? And a lot of times I even rejected it
And
because
they'll brand the whole place.
yeah, because in their mind they thought of it like, well, Africans are always going to go to the convenience store down the street and use MoneyGram and Western Union, and we made $1 billion last year. Why should I give you any money for marketing? What does it do for me? You're going to come back anyway. And what happened after many of these other companies opened up, owned by Africans, Nigerians, and they started doing the money sending and all that stuff, especially with Nigerians. I don't think I know anybody that uses MoneyGram or Western Union anymore.
Absolutely.
And I went to a meeting that they called a meeting of folks in the community that they think has that popularity and know how to engage. And I went there. They invited me and they were talking and I blasted them. And I told them you're like 5 years too late. You're not going to get the money anymore from Africans, especially Nigerians, because you snubbed a lot of things you could have been investing in that community because they keep coming back. Now that you've lost like 60% of your market, now you want to make amends. So resources, you got to find a way to get it. And if that's coming out of your pocket, like a Paulo, getting capital investments or stuff like that, sponsorship here and there, come together as a coalition, and then recognize whose talent is what. This is so different from planners, so who's going to produce, who's finance or whatever. But even when you get to the point where you start putting all the people together who come together to make a great event, you can't look down on them. For years, DJs have been talking about we do this, we do that, but nobody respects us.
Yeah.
I can relate to that because I see it. And I'm like, until you start respecting the DJ,
Of course.
They're going to feel like they're sidelined, and they were sidelined. You sideline the DJ, you look at the MC like a hired hand. That MC is the one keeping your crowd
entertained. Yeah, it's true.
You're looking at the backstage hands and whatever. It's like some boys that you just hired to carry stuff. No, that's not. All of them need the respect in this game, in this entertainment business. The MC, the DJ, the promoter, the artist,
Yeah.
whoever does the backdrop, the person doing the marketing, everybody is as important as the next person because it ties into a whole circle. And if you come together as a coalition and you don't recognize that and don't want to recognize that because of your ego or your ignorance, you're not a coalition. You're just a group of people sitting together.
Absolutely. So to wrap it up, 5 years from now, where do you see this whole movement?
Oh. Man, I mean,
be Nostradamus.
I like to be honest, I like to see. So let's start from the global stage. I would like to see the music continue to be globalized without being watered down too much. I don't want to see Afrobeats turn into, the rap game. I don't want to see Afrobeats turn. It all is all encompassing of everything. I don't want to see African music turning.
We're gonna have to compromise in the US.
Yeah, already you see some songs you put on the radio and people are like, oh, from the islands. Shout out to all my island folks. I love them, but it's not from the islands. It's from the continent of Africa. So African music, I want it to continue to be globalized while still keeping a level of authenticity. And there are folks, another topic for another day, who argue about what is authentic. Is it Afrobeats? Is it a Sukus? Is it Makosa? Yeah, exactly. All that stuff. I say all of them. And I want to see it on a global stage where it's not just, Afro beats with someone rapping and a good hook and Tunga beats is only considered as the globalized music. I want to see all of that music continue to be globalized. So that's on a global format the next 5 years. But then I also want to see us as Africans, because we're Africans first. I want to see us take control, which is like the bulk of the conversation we've had tonight. We need to take control of the artistic direction. We need to take control of the economics of it. We need to take control of, how it's being sold. And we need to take control of how it even helps our community, which is a big one. How is the music helping your community? How is it helping us to push the narrative in other areas? Because if it doesn't, what's the use of it? So I want to see us be able to take control. I want people to get smarter. All fingers are not equal. But if you as a person, just because you didn't go to college and get a degree for entertainment or whatever, if you decide that you cannot sit down and instead of spending 6 hours on IG and commenting on celeb gossip all day, as an artist, as an event planner, as a producer, as an MC, if you're going to sit on IG for 6 hours all day, commenting and making jargon comments and all that stuff, and you cannot use that same data to go just do simple research or learn something about your craft, about the business side of it, about how you can own it. As an artist, how can I go in and say I want to own my own masters? Not before mouth.
That's what Magnum is talking about with it. The Ace Cap.
Yeah. People don't know. Some people, I have my label. Who's the A&R of your label? Oh, what's in the A&R? I literally had a casting that. What is A&R? So if you cannot, you take that time and educate yourself. We're not talking about going to school. Talk about educating yourself, putting time into your craft to hone it and market yourself, because charity begins at home, which is self. If you cannot do that, you cannot go into a room and try to be on the same level with them and talk on the same level.
They're gonna knock you out
when you're like the short one. You don't want to be short one. So in the next 5 years, I want people to start doing that. Start owning the direction of where this is going to go. And then I do hope these coalitions can happen. And I'm saying this because, I'm considered retired now, but the only time we do talk, people like me or most, anything new, it's like, hey, retired or not, the only time we can see us stepping in to do something is on a huge scale, that coalition.
Absolutely. And that's the
business side. And that's the only thing I'm pursuing right now in the shadows right now. But you know how they say, real G's move in silence. But sometimes you have to move in silence with a whole bunch of other people. So I'm trying to see those like minds and see if maybe that coalition can happen, and let's start taking back what's out. That's why in the next 5 years, that's my hope for it.
Last question before we shut this down. You know, back then we had LD, we had Amplify Crew, we had Slim, we had Source, now became Senzu, we had Banky, and every single one of these guys pretty much left and to Nigeria. Is there any artist that you know right now that you feel like is gonna be the next Banky or one of these guys in the US?
Oh, to leave from the diaspora. Why are you like this, man? To leave from the diaspora and go
From
and
the
be
diaspora,
from the diaspora?
yeah. Because back then, these guys, they had done everything they could do possibly in the state. That's why they left.
True. And I hesitate to say, like, oh, yeah, you know what, leaving and going back is the only way you can achieve success because it would negate what we've been saying before that, maybe this is the next big thing here in the diaspora.
Yes.
So I don't want to contradict that.
I think now there's more opportunities compared to before.
Yeah, but the reality is that
a
lot of those people, when they left, that's really where I remember Banky very well. We had a lot of conversations and he had a lot of doubts going. But he went there, you can go to Nigeria and do all that stuff or whatever. If you don't grind, you're just going to be upcoming artist for the next 5 years in Nigeria. So it's not about just going to Nigeria. And I know I'm avoiding the question going around.
I mean, there's Taye, there's J-Cube, there's Bills in Texas, there's T-Man in New York.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of them. I'm seeing, a few I'm watching to see who's really going to be the first, even here, to break through. I think the only person that I've really done it is IOJ, right? And I mean, that's been able to be successful enough on that.
Yeah, and crossover
in America, crossover.
And I think they can achieve that success. I like JQ.
Yeah.
I always have. I think he just needs, discipline, more discipline, and just have one direction of how you want to go and pursue that. Don't switch up too many times or whatever, but he's always been very talented. Listen to some of the stuff as well. I think they're all talented.
Yeah. But do you think we can do a tour right now? One of the things that I've been talking to some of the upcoming young guys is, to do a tour with just them as headliners. Are people going to buy tickets?
Probably not. No, and I don't want them to feel anyhow, especially if they're on this live right now.
I tell them, some of them, their own friends will not buy tickets.
No, they won't. There's a time for everything. There's a time for everything. And just like you said, some of these guys were here. They went back to Nigeria, and as soon as they got there, they blew up. Now they're coming back. They want to do a tour. You better buy a ticket, either they know you or not, because it's a different level. So probably not, only because of, what they say, familiarity sometimes breeds disrespect. Sometimes the same familiarity leads to people underrating you. And it's good to be underrated. I'll put it like this. Let me put it as like giving them advice instead of just throwing out names out there. Because there's a lot. I can remember, the Lockboard Divide.
Yeah,
I really like her. So, there are a lot of them. Taye, JQ, all these kids. So my advice is take that, everything you've heard from the positive and negative, and use that as the catalyst, as a fuel for you to push yourself. Yeah, people are going to say, oh, yeah, if you go to Nigeria and all that stuff, maybe it's not for everybody. Yeah. But there's a realistic part of it was that there maybe more opportunities, more producers that will work with you, more collaborations. But even if you're going to take that leap, if you're going to go to Nigeria to hone your craft, have a plan. Have a very solid plan. Because we all know Lagos, they will chew you up and spit you out. People are signing crazy deals every day. So have a solid plan. Continue, honing your craft. Continue working on the talent. And like I said, find a lane. Find a niche. We're not saying don't be versatile. Be versatile, but you need to have a niche. People need to be able to align you with a specific area. They need to be able to say like, oh man, I like this guy's unique voice. Every time I hear this sound, I know
that's him.
That's the one of the most successful things that can be said about an artist, really. Like when I hear this, you know, I know it's him.
Person.
It's unique. So find that, you know, what makes you unique, and you can blow up here. IOJ did it, like you said. And we both know the song that he blew up with. When he blew up, that song was what, 3 years old?
3 years old. It took that long. Yeah.
Exactly. So, you know, that would be my advice to folks up and coming. Same thing applies to DJs. This is not just about the artist. You know, DJs have heard me say, I think DJs are probably the ones I've not sugarcoated over the years. For some reason, I had a lot of love for DJs. So I talk to DJs a whole lot more rather than even other promoters or whatever. DJs, same thing. Now, the artists, when we say unique, like when they hear a sound, they should be able to say, it's you. It's a little opposite when you, DJ. If they hear the song and like, oh, the one that I heard last week, I know what he's going to play next. That's a negative. That's not a positive. You need to be versatile. You know, I don't want to hear the song and be like, oh, watch, he's going to play that whiskey joint next. So like that. Watch what's coming next. Yeah, the video. Yeah,
I thought I'm the only one that do that in the club when I'm these DJs that I know.
Every time, the times I've been, I'm like, well, he's going to play this next and that next, and like 4 or 5 songs back to back. I'm like, oh man.
Like, yeah, your playlist. So I know exactly your lineup.
Yeah, so for a DJ, be versatile. And don't go to an event and want to be so versatile that your head is all in your CD or you know, your records that you're spinning, and you're not looking at your crowd. You know, you need to respect your crowd. As a DJ, that's the reality of things. Respect the crowd, know what's good for them, and be versatile for them to enjoy. So that's my advice to DJs. Everyone else in the other parts of the business, MCs and all that stuff, own your craft.
It's true, man. Shout out to
as an MC, you need to market the shit out of yourself more than an artist and more than a DJ, because MCs right now is like, there's not, it's a small circle, but it's the market out there could be dominated by like 2 or 3. If you're not really on your toes and getting your shit right, where you go, you
American guy,
all that stuff.
We playing Afro beats, and we're seeing already. Shout out to D Money. I'm talking with D Money tomorrow. We're having this conversation.
Nice.
And now it's like, you see, even when D Nice was on with over 200,000, he's playing Afro beats and, you know, Indian, whatever. There's an Indian DJ that's huge. I was at a barbershop. My boys there, like Yankee guys, they showed me like, yo, do you know this DJ? He's Indian. He stays on the beach and he plays Afro beats.
Yep.
He has huge following.
Yep.
Bigger than most of our D. I'm like, damn.
You know the kid in what's his name? Taki, the kid in New York, the Asian kid with the glasses.
Yes.
Every time I come to New York, I think he's stuck in Japan for a while. I'm not sure if he's back now. During the lockdown, he went to visit Japan. He has everything that you offer these DJs, but he has it.
Yeah.
Barely speak English.
Yeah, if you don't.
So,
bro, we'll try. Thank you so much. Let me wrap this up with the crew, with the little quiz for you. I hope you're ready.
I'll put the quiz on this. Okay.
Why? I'm playing. Just all right. Cool. Boat cruise or flights? Which do you prefer?
Who?
Boat cruise or flights? What would you take?
Probably flights, because I kind of have a fear of water a little bit. So
I
enjoy it, but I fly too much that it's become second nature in a way for work and all that stuff. So I'll probably choose flights, but water, man. Even when I'm like on a cruise, I'm always like, even my significant other always laughing at me, because I'm looking, immediately I get on, I'm looking for where the the lifeboat is and life jackets. Like if anything happens, I cannot be more than 2 feet away from having a life jacket.
That would be me on the cruise. That would be me. All right, Bitcoin or stocks?
Stocks.
Football or basketball?
When we talk about football, soccer, or
real football.
Real football. Yeah, of course, that's a no-brainer. Everybody
knows
I'm an Arsenal addict.
Yeah,
Arsenal addict, so they know that. You know,
of course, Gunners for life. Amala or pounded yam?
Oh, pounded yam. I eat amala, and pounded yam is in my blood, I guess. you
Why?
know.
Why? I feel like more people do pounded yam than amala.
Yeah, I'm a
Is it
pound.
because it's black?
No,
No,
you're gonna catch me slipping.
no, I'm seriously.
It has
Like,
everything to
it may
do
have
with
something
taste
to
and
do with
nothing
it,
with the
no?
color.
It may have something to do with it because, like,
Is that is the way the yam flour is, it's
yeah,
dried and burnt-ish. That's what makes it black. So
yeah.
the taste just never appeals to me. So yeah, I'm a fan of yam guy.
Yeah. All right. Donald Trump or Idi Amin?
India, I mean, was African. At least he he was a tyrant,
Donald
but
Trump give us money, oh, at least.
look, India, I mean, had some level of identity that he wanted Africans to have. He was a tyrant, but he actually preached the identity of Uganda. It's like be proud of be Uganda while terrorizing them. I'll choose Idi Amin 10 times and more on Sunday. But that's just my opinion. So
Good Lord, that is scary.
yeah.
It's scary. In women, natural hair or weave?
It's a hard one, both. I'm not one to like really, bash women, for wanting to accentuate themselves with the weaves and stuff. Just don't overdo it. I'm a sucker for natural hair, though.
Okay.
So,
What do you prefer, music or movies?
that's another. No, that's one is a toss up, man. So over the years, I've like my love for movies is huge. It's always been like that for, like since I was a kid. And music is the same thing. Of course, I wouldn't even be in this business. My music genre, my music taste is so huge. Even country music, you'll find it on my stuff playlist. So yeah, that one, I don't think I could give an answer on that one. It goes hand in hand to me. Both.
All right. What would you do? Go to a rave, like a party jam or concerts?
I like a concert. And I tend to like live concerts more because over the years, I think like, that whole single over CDs had made a lot of artists lazy. So the last concert I went to that I really, really liked was Adekunle Gold with his live band.
Okay.
It was dope. So concert.
Nice. Word games or console games?
Oh, what games?
Word games. All right.
Yeah.
Japan or China for the last one?
I've always wanted to
Pre-COVID.
visit both. Japan takes the cake right now because China is on a huge bias right now. So, oh yeah, Japan. Yeah.
Oh man, bro, thank you so much.
Class has been a pleasure, man.
Yeah, I
I
love
probably
it.
thought I was on a lockdown. I've never had facial hair this much in my entire life.
Now, all about we don't go back. Keeping everything right now.
But this was good. It was a good chop off.
Absolutely.
It's been a while since I've had like a kind of discussion like this to this day. In a long time. People thought I was
we need it.
interested in business, but it's not so. It's just nothing motivated me to want to really come out and be like, oh yeah, I'm forefront doing anything. I've done anything that needs to be done. Right now, if it's not like an apex or something that will be talked about, there's no even need to do a party or whatever. Yeah, people without them, right? Why? You've seen the parties for 20 years. One more. So,
well, bro,
thanks, Carl.
You can't talk about this entertainment business if any history is written, any document, you have to be involved.
You're too kind, man.
Even in Nigeria,
thank you.
have to be involved. And it's so I don't care if it's 50 years from now. So long as you're here with us, you have to be involved. It's just what it is.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Well, it's nice chopping it up, man.
Yes, definitely, bro. We'll catch up.
It's been very lively, man. Great job, Cos.
Yes,
during this lockdown is exactly what we needed. Yeah. And thank you everyone who joined and asked questions and all that stuff. Love you all.
Absolutely. All right, bro.
All right, brother. Take care.